This is my audience.
Then be persuaded.
Alright then, do you like Vikings, anime, action, some history in there? Well then, Vinland Saga is the anime for you. So first off, let's break this down into the setting and the genre. The setting takes place in England 1013 AD, basically the 11th century during the era of Danish invaders during England. Basically, they were called Vikings back then. The genre is epic, adventure, and historical fiction. Now then, let's get into the characters real quick. Our first character, which is our MC, is named Thorfinn. Fun fact, his real life counterpart is Thorfinn Kalsefi. They're sort of going on the same route, but based on the characters that he meets, they're pretty different. But anyway, Thorfinn character, or necessarily his theme, is a classic case of, the tragedy of youth, or a tragedy corrupting youth. Each episode, you'll see him spiral further and further down the road where he becomes more self-destructive, more volatile, away from the innocence that he once had. And each obstacle that he faces relentlessly, sacrificing a bit of his humanity each and every time, eventually climaxing with an end you might not see coming. Next is personally my favorite character, Askeladd. He is quote unquote the antagonist. I quote antagonist due to the complexity of his character. Like, you can consider him a friend, a foe, an enemy, a mentor, a murderer, a tragedy similar to Thorfinn. He can embody initiative, heroism, or even anti-heroism to a certain extent. He's like that interesting and that complex of a character. And fun fact, he doesn't necessarily have a real life historical counterpart, but he is somewhat based off the folk character of Askeladdin. Next, our third main character of the cast is King Canute, based on the real life King Canute. And arguably, he has one of the most interesting character arcs. He develops, opens up, and matures from dire situations forced upon him, such as kidnapping, war, and many deaths surrounding him. Through these, he develops an interesting philosophical idea regarding the concept of love. From complacent timidity to a whole new person, his journey kind of contrasts with Thorfinn's, where his is more of a downward spiral, his is more of an upward raise to, say, kingship, the place where he should be. Next, let's talk about the animation and visuals. Now, I'm not particularly an expert in animation, but I can clearly tell by the sheer intensity of the short clip. The wind trails kind of emphasizing the speed, the natural human emotions you get from Thorfinn launching off from the pillar, and even the camera creating one of the best possible action shots as the pillar comes at him, he dodges and lands back on his feet. The next clip kind of captures the strength and movement of each of his slashes. You can see slightly whenever he goes through a body, the camera is slightly tilting due to the sheer weight of each strike. Now then, finally, if you weren't necessarily sold on the anime adaptation, basically either its color, its music, or its voice acting, which I couldn't do, copyright, if you prefer reading or more hand-drawn style, you can check out the manga. That is all. What am I?